So everyone, we like to start with a little song. It's like an energizer that we'd like to begin with. So I'll quickly play the song for all of you. It's a I Can song.
Hey, come on, let's go. The I Can Jams are here to show. I dream, one dream. I can, yes, I can be the change. I can, you can, together we can. I can, you can, together we can. Feel, imagine, do, share, we can.
Okay, so that was the I Can song, and it is related to something that we'll be doing today as well. Hi everyone, good evening, afternoon. It is afternoon here, but yeah, so I'm Viha, and I'm very fond of designing.
My name is Sahana. I really enjoy writing, and we are both from grade 9 in the Riverside School. So today we will be share the PPT.
We'll be taking you through the FIDS process. So I'll share the introduction.
Yeah.
Okay. So here.
So I can start. Okay. So basically, I would like to. So everybody is born human, right? Everybody is born as a human being. But at Riverside, we truly believe that what is really important is not being human, but being humane, which is being more than an ordinary human being. It's being compassionate and ethical and honest, where your qualities are really shining through rather than just your biology.
And this is all decided by the choices you make and the actions you take. So the extra E that you see over there stands for the 5 E's that we believe at Riverside. So the 5 E's are empathy, ethics, excellence, elevation, and evolution. So empathy is when you basically try to get into the shoes of the person and actually feel what they might be going through.
Ethics is where you choose to do the right thing rather than the easy thing, because in life there's a lot of times where you'll be able to take a shortcut instead of doing the hard work. But ethics is doing the hard work and being proud of yourself after that.
Excellence is all about how you give in your 100% and try to achieve quality work, the best that you can always.
Elevation is to not compete with each other, but to complete each other, to make sure that the other person is happy and compassionate, and to improve each other.
And evolution is about building a growth mindset, how each time you can reflect and introspect on yourself to get better the next time. So I've been at Riverside for like 10 to 11 years, and there is one E that has been like sewn into me, which I think is the E of excellence, because we have this process of client projects at Riverside, which by default demand me to go for external scrutinies or presentations and everything. So I think they really push me, and each time I try raising the bar and pushing myself to achieve quality.
I've also been at Riverside for 10 to 11 years, and the E that has really stood out for me has been elevation, due to this process that we do in Riverside called buddy interaction, where we basically take time out of our days to spend time with our younger buddies or older buddies in school. And I think that it really helps me, because not only am I like helping somebody else, I'm also learning a lot about me and getting help myself. So I think that elevation really stands out in that manner and that's really what is important to me.
So these are the 5 E's that we just explained, and they are ideally used everywhere, but somewhere where we use them the most are the FIDS process. So FIDS is a very simple 4-step framework that allows you or helps you to solve any problem. So FIDS stands for feel, imagine, do, share, where feel is.
So feel is all about recognizing the problem. It's about looking at your surroundings and even within yourself and understanding and identifying something that bothers you, and writing down like the hot spots and the bright spots and making a clear picture of yourself.
Then imagine is the next step, which is all about setting a best case scenario or framing a goal. So, for example, if the problem we were trying to solve was equality within a classroom, then I'd set the best case scenario or my imagine to be that at the end of 2021, my grade would respect and consider everyone to be equal and deserving of the same rights. So, that is my best case scenario, something I want to achieve once I solve the problem.
So do is all about action. Do is all about putting whatever thoughts you have in imagine and really taking steps to achieve that. So it can, and it's also about persevering through the hardships that you might have and bonding with your with the people that you are doing it with.
And the last step is share, which is all about inspiring and infecting others with the same motivation and dedication you achieved your goal with. So it's like you have a powerful change story and you want to share it with others so that they get inspired with it and they can also think of other problems or bring a change in their own places.
So you might think that this is used for really, really big things, but actually in Riverside, we try to use it for everything that we think that needs to be changed. So it can be from something that is internal to something that is really big, like equality, as we have mentioned. But we would like to give you an example of where we used it. So we used it in the sports day. So
Case study of how we reimagine the sports days at Riverside, and that will help you get better understand the FIDS process because you see an application of it.
okay, so I've been at Riverside since the start. So in the beginning, we used to have a very typical type sports day. We run, and whoever is the fastest gets the medal. And honestly, I didn't have that big of a problem with that because I was naturally inclined to sports. But a lot of my peers were not, and therefore it was like only half the team had won because the other half wasn't even participating.
So so like Sahana mentioned, she enjoyed sports, but I was one of the kids who didn't enjoy sports. I would much rather sit in the room, read a book or do some art and not actually play sports. And I came up with the most bizarre excuses to stay away from the field and to not actually play sports. So we recognize that as a problem, that there's 50% of the people like playing sports, the others didn't. So there was a stark difference. So we wanted to solve that.
So that was the field. We had felt the problem that it wasn't inclusive to everybody. And so then we reimagined it. We sat with teachers and students to understand how can we make sports day a process that is enjoyable, not only for the people that are inclined to sports, but for the people who are not. How do we make it a more inclusive process? So what we did was we added elements for each art, in the sense of we added chant and speech, and we added we added the dance points. So basically, in that sense, we made it so that even people who are naturally inclined to sports could enjoy it and participate in it.
So you just heard about the entire reimagining process. I'll like to quickly show you a video of the same. It's a very short video, and you'll get a better understanding of how we reimagine the sports day. It'll also talk about the FIDS process. So yeah, here, I'll just share audio and sound. Okay, yes.
bigger? Can you make the screen bigger?
Sports days that we had earlier were more like the sports days that other schools have. There's a lot of competition between the students where there are trophies for the best players, for the strongest players, for the fastest players. We realized that this was only for the students who were naturally inclined towards sports and who really enjoyed sports. But the students who were not so much into sports, they were just left out of this.
This was something that we really wanted to turn around at the school. So therefore, we brought in this idea of a collaborative sports day. The idea of squads was predominantly aimed at sports day becoming a community-based event at Riverside. What are we trying to build ourselves, though, as a group? Community, energy, anticipation. How do we differentiate ourselves from other squads? What would be some of the major values coming out from your squad?
Inclusivity, respect, and unity.
Everything that you do on the sports day and in the run-up to sports day should actually feed into that identity.
We decided a team name. We first discuss what we want to stand for, and then what the color stands for, and then
So how does the sports day itself actually function? So there are 2 days, one in which is based within the school and one in an external location. In the course of this day, there'll be an opening ceremony where students will have the chance to capture the imagination of the audience with the speech in which they give. The opportunity will be there for them to give their chance, to come in with an incredible entrance. Then the sports themselves, there's 13 different events, sports from all over the world. One of the central differences in this sports day is that teachers have the opportunity to participate on the same platform as their students. One of the central values this school is built upon is that of gender equality. This sports day offers an opportunity for that value to become realized. All of these skills will help these students as leaders once they leave and graduate from the school. That they have a role, that they have something to contribute to this squad and something to contribute, more importantly, to this school and to this country.
Right. So that was just an application of the sports data that you saw. So this all really requires the I can mindset, which we get by chance. We usually don't get by chance, but by design. So now you've only seen and heard the application of the FIDS process, but we'd like you guys to apply the FIDS process. So for that, we have a small activity that we'll be conducting with you here itself. And there you will be going through the FIDS process through a case study that we take you through. And at the same time, you will be able to apply and use the FIDS process in your own context. Okay. So Srisha, you want to start?
Now that we know what the process FIDS is and we've seen an application of it, as we have said, we're going to take an example and look. The first step is feel. Feel means identify and understand the problem.
Srisha, can you be a little louder, please?
Yes. Is this better now?
Yeah.
Feel means to identify and understand the problem. We have a small experience prepared for you. The reason we do this is because we've realized at Riverside that it's better to understand an experience. It's easier to understand anything when we go through it ourselves. The first slide, as you can see on the slide, there are 5 number lines. Next to them, there are 5 words. Each word, you're supposed to pick yourself and rate yourself from 1 to 10. For example, the first one is determine. I think I stand on a 7 here. Let's take 15 seconds and I'll ask each of you to tell me where you stand. For the first one, as I said, is determination.
So this is not about competing with each other. So you can be completely honest. For example, if you look at the second scale, it was reading newspapers. I don't read newspapers much. So I'd like rate myself at maybe a 2 or a 1. So be honest with it. Whatever you think, wherever you stand, you can either unmute and speak, or you can quickly put your numbers in chat and we'll read it.
can also raise your hands if you have something to say.
Yeah, so Pooja and David, can you just rate yourselves on determine why do you think you stand?
So David has said he stands on an 8 on determination.
Okay, so just
So-
mark it.
And anyone else? Pooja?
Has 8 as well. Okay.
Okay.
Then we have 2 8s. That's nice.
The next
Okay.
thing we have is reading the newspaper. Similarly, if Maru, if you could, yeah, Maru, if you could tell us where you stand on reading the newspaper. Okay, I'll tell you. Okay, Pooja has said she stands on a 5, and David has said he stands on a 9. That's-
Wow, 9.
9 is excellent. Okay.
Nice.
And
That is more than I could ever do. Wow.
the same for the cooking.
Oh, right. That's smart, having an electronic newspaper. And Maru is also saying she stands on a 9. The next thing we have is cooking.
Okay,
So
cooking.
Pooja has said she stands on an 8 in the chat box.
Mhm.
Anyone
The only thing
else?
I can make is a peanut butter jelly sandwich. So I think I'd be at like a 3 here.
And Maru has said 5.
Okay, fine.
I think I stand on a 7. I love to cook and I love to try out different things. So yes.
Let's take kindness, Trisha.
The next thing we have is kindness. Anyone else? David, we have Roshani, we have Maru. If any of you all want to put in the chat box, do put it, we can put. Pooja has said she stands on a 9.
That is extremely kind. 7.
And 7 by David.
Yeah, we just went through art because you got the gist of it. So we just,
So
yeah, okay. So
as you can see here, everyone stands on different places. Similarly, another way of seeing where you stand is the report card. Viha?
yeah, 1 second. Okay, she said she's almost 7. Maru. Okay.
The next thing we have, or to realize where you stand, is a report card. Take a minute and observe the report card. What can you say about this child?
So this is just a traditional way of assessment. It's a report card of some student. You can just look at it and then we'll ask you something about both the activities.
So basically what it means is like on the left side, it's like the marks that it out of, and then
So the column with the maximum
55 up to 100 on their English test. So
and then 65 on
64.
64 on 100 for Hindi, 84 on 100 for, I think it must be Sanskrit.
or French. So something like that. So you can see the marks obtained for each of these subjects.
Now that you have seen this, we go to the next slide, which is both examples. If the number line was one way of assessing a student, and if the report card was another way of assessing a student, what would you like to know about the student?
So qualities of, what about the personality would you be able to tell about a student? If the student was assessed using number lines and if the student was assessed using a report card.
You can put in the chat box again, but we love it if you could say it.
Yeah, it would be great if you could unmute and just share.
Also, please switch on your video so we can see your beautiful faces.
I'm sorry, can you please repeat the question? What do we have to do?
If it was assessed by number lines and if a student was assessed using the report card, what would you be able to tell about the child's personality or the qualities of the child?
So David, you've raised your hand. Would you like to say something?
Yeah.
Yes. So I don't see that there's a lot of difference qualitatively between the two, because they are both scales of numbers that don't really give anything, any more detail. So one is a scale of what, 1 to 9, and the other is a scale of 0 to 100. They're just different varieties of the same thing. You were asking what can we tell about somebody's personality from a report card or a number line? As well, not a lot. All we can really tell from either of those is their performance on a particular test.
That's a great point, David. Anyone else? Roshni, Pooja?
You want to share something?
So
participants, Petra and Chiara, do you guys have something to share?
I think they might have come in a little late, so I think we might have to give them a little bit of a brief about what's going on.
So
okay. If we go through this basically, so if we look at the number lines, okay, the qualities here are like determined, newspaper, cooking, art, kindness. These are all a lot about the character of a person, right? So you can tell if a person, how the person is by heart, and this is more cognitive related. It is more related to the mind. So how does the student perform? So
we have ma'am, Pooja has written in the chat box that the person is good in maths, but he's probably more logical, and that's something that they have noticed.
So good in maths and logical minded. So that is something you can tell. And now if you look at the number line, you could also talk about if the student was kind, right? So you could talk about how good the student was at heart. And this is more cognitive related, more mind and so that's the difference we were trying to highlight here.
That's what we realized at Riverside, and we realized that students would usually assess on only one part of this, which was mostly the cognitive part. So that's the reason we wanted to come up with a more holistic assessment so that the students were assessed using not just the studies, but their personality as well. Now
so
that we're done.
That we generally tend to assess our children based on only one of these aspects. So report cards are generally made only with the marks that you scored well in this, you scored well in this, but you didn't really do well in this. But is that what a child is completely is? There's more to the child, right? Related to the heart, the personality. So that is the problem we identified. We wanted to reimagine the idea of assessments, and we really felt that there should be a more holistic assessment. So that was our field.
Now that we're done with the example of field, what I want all of you to do is identify a problem in your surroundings and write it down in your notebook. Do share it in the chat box or raise your hands and share it so we can put it down here.
So this was our field for a problem that bothered us in our school. You can think of a problem that you think bothers you around in your surroundings. It could be something as simple as always having your room messy. How can we solve that problem? FIDS will help you do that as well. So you can think of any problems. You can take a minute or two, note it down, as well as share it with us.
You want us to share the problems?
Yeah, think of what we want you to do is like something that we had identified in Riverside was that we are not assessing children holistically. So what we want you to do is basically identify a problem that you feel. If you think that this works for you, then you can go ahead with this as well. But what if there is any other problem that you feel in your context that you would like to even identify or solve, then you can put it up or start thinking about it. Note it down.
Pooja has raised her hand. So Pooja, if you would like to share maybe something you identified.
Yeah. So I procrastinate a lot. I think that is one of the biggest problems that I have.
Okay.
That is
sorry.
That is your field. And Maro, do you have something you want to share?
Or David?
Or David or anyone else who is
anybody.
Roshni, David, Maro. Petra, Kyra, if it's like that.
If you can put it also on the chat, it'll be fine.
Yeah, if you don't know unmute or you can't for some reasons, you can put it on the chat and we'll be most happy.
Okay.
So as I said again, it could be any problem. It could be problem. It could be a problem like you being forgetful and you probably lose your wallet when you go outside, or you don't remember where you've kept your keys or something, or you find your room always messy. Or manage your time well. You always, when you have things to do in the day, you maybe miss on to doing one or two things because you couldn't manage your time well. It could be any of these day problem.
So I think David also agrees with the procrastination thing.
Okay.
Pooja also said,
I have a messy bedroom. Okay, that is another thing. So a messy bedroom is another problem.
Roshni has written not being regular with fitness goals.
Okay, wow. Okay.
Irregularity.
So now that we've noticed 3 problems or some issues that we have in our surroundings, we'll move on to the next step.
So these are your fields. So a problem that you've identified. And we'll move on to the next step, which is imagine.
Okay, so now we have imagine. So before we understood what was the problem, now we're basically gonna say that what is the best case scenario? What are the best possible solutions that you can that you have for this? So for our best case scenario, to make our best case scenario, we had asked ourselves, next the question, how would we like to be assessed? Okay, so so an example of how we answer this question is okay. So
yes. If you can share.
Yeah, if I can.
Yeah.
So my best case scenario would be a painting. So this is a Pierre Mondrian painting that I made. Pierre Mondrian, was a Dutch artist. So what he did was he took big city landscapes and he expressed them through paintings using only the basic primary colors and shapes like squares and rectangles. So this is a painting. It represents me. So the blue is all about my thought process. So I connect the blue to an ocean, how deep the ocean is. Similarly, how deep do I think? How deep and structured is my thinking? The yellow is my cognitive bit. So how well I perform maybe in my subjects like maths, English, Hindi, science. Red is how good I'm at my heart, my empathy basically. How am I with my friends, my family, my relatives, my peers, classmates. White is how open-minded I am. So the quality, like white has a quality of it can be mixed with any colors and yet form a beautiful color. So how am I open-minded? And so all in all, this painting represents me. So that was my best case scenario. And then
okay, so the best case scenario that we had come up with for our problem of not having a holistic report was from markable to remarkable, meaning that not just talking about the content and how good they are at that, but also talking about what are the inner qualities. So like that, we would also like you guys to come up with a really short kind of motto like we have come up with to so that this is the goal that you want to achieve at the end of this process. So yeah, if we go back to the field, so procrastinate a lot, messy bedroom, and irregularity with fitness goals. So now what is the best case scenario in this? Just a one-liner for that. You guys can put it in the chat, or you can share share it while raising your hand and unmuting.
Asked ourselves. Then we thought of an example, how it could be, and then we framed it to be from markable to remarkable, as Sahana explained. So now you can go back to the field and frame a short one-liner for your problems.
So being more productive. Okay. So being more productive is a really good one, not procrastinating. So that becomes a little bit more just like, okay, not doing this. So I think that being more productive is like a good positive point, right? So I think that we think in positives. I would differ from the word not, because then it just becomes like a negative connotation to the sentence. So I like being more productive. And maybe you had also said that your progress is slow, so maybe managing your time well as well. So being more productive and managing and having better time management.
Yeah. And when you do this, you also need to set like
Yeah,
a goal. Like by the end of this month.
David, if you agree with that, David, if you agree with that, then we can put that as your imagine for this. You can just put up like a thumbs up or something so that we know your reaction to it.
And what you also do is set like a time frame. So like by the end of this month, or by the end of this year, or by the end of the next 15 days, I will have. That is how we generally start our imagines.
So that then we can actually achieve it, because when you have a time frame, it's easier to do something. So David, what would be your time frame for this? So like by the end of this month, week?
I actually have a question. There seems to be, how to phrase this, a kind of a difference between an ongoing process and a process which has a conclusion. So if it was wanting to complete a piece of work, then obviously once you've done that, then it's finished and it comes to an end. But fighting procrastination is obviously an ongoing process. So kind of trying to set a deadline or an end point is quite a difficult point.
You're
not
so
setting
I
exactly.
understand what you're saying. So basically, by the end of this, so procrastination will always be something that you will kind of struggle with. So we are thinking that like by the end of this, so that's why we said, so stop procrastination is a really big goal. So maybe you could say that by the end of this, I will spend more amount of time doing this. So you don't have to eliminate all procrastination at once, but maybe pick a specific targeted thing that you procrastinate at, and then say that, okay, by the end of this, I won't I will. So for example, for me, if I'm procrastinating that, like I do my schoolwork at 10 o'clock, so by the end of this month, maybe I'll put that I will have done all of my homework by 6:30. So small targets are always better, because then they are more achievable in a time frame. Sorry.
Yeah. So as Sahana said, you can just set your imagine to be something really simple that you can keep like a track of. So something like by the end of this month, she said, I'll have finished my homework by 6:30 if she's procrastinating it to 10. So if you set it here, you can say something like by the end of this month, I will have learned to better manage my time and be more productive. If you don't have something specific like doing your homework, you can say something like that. Or as Sahana said, you can give like a time frame as well. So fitness, devote 1 hour each day, 30 minutes morning and evening towards exercise, home and outdoors. Yeah. So if you want to frame it in your best case scenario, you can give it some time frame. So can you give a time frame like by the end of? You can tell me on chat itself. Okay, this month. So then you can say by the end this month, I will have I will have worked regularly towards my fitness goals and
of 1 hour of exercise per day. I don't think then don't go into the detail.
When you give it what you will do to achieve it, that's a more of the do part. It's not your imagine yet. So then your do, you can think of that I will give 30 minutes to it each day so that I'm more regular. How will I remember to do that?
So I will have worked towards my fitness goals. You can leave it at that, or if you want to be more specific, then you can put the hour. So I think we would say just leave it. By the end of this month, I will have worked regularly toward my fitness goals.
So
Okay.
that your best case scenario. So similarly, for each of your problems, you can frame your best case scenario. These were the problems, and we framed like 2 for them. You can look at other best case scenarios and frame other fields and frame best case scenarios for them. So that was our feel and imagine. And now the next step is the do.
So coming on to the do, now that we have come up with, we have identified the problem, and now that we have come up and we have come up with the best case scenario, let's move on to the do. So do is the bridging the gap, coming up with a solution in order to achieve the best case scenario. So for example, like we continuing the problem of assessments, we came up with a 60-40 ratio where 60% of the content of the child and 40% of the character will be taken into consideration. Then there's a final way of assessing a child. So this is how we came up with the solution to a problem.
We'll elaborate on this ratio in the share part, but for now we'd like you to.
It's 1 o'clock.
Sorry, we'd like you to.
Yeah, so now we'd like you to come up with 2 actionable points or ideas for the problems or the fields, the field you listed earlier, and in order to achieve the best case scenario which you stated. So quickly, any 2 points.
Nothing that you guys can actually do about that problem at like this moment. So you can quickly just think of actionables or doables that will help you achieve or work towards your best case scenario to solve your problem. So as someone was talking about fitness goals, so she said 1 hour daily. But now that is something you want to do, right? You want to do it. How will you make sure you do it? You said you're irregular with it. So what are the points or doables that will help you ensure that you finish 1 hour of daily exercise each day? So those will be your do points. You think of it, you think of solutions for
Walk
it.
and okay, she's put in walk and yoga.
So walk and yoga do, but how will you remember to do walk and yoga? How will you make sure you get that time out from your schedule so that you can go out for exercise?
So
That
Maro
will-
has said
Maro has said that she can she'll put it in her schedule. So I think writing that would be good.
So okay, so timetabling is one solution so that you know you are doing it. Okay.
Maybe drive yourself that if I do 1 hour of walking or exercise every day, by Saturday I can have one of my favorite dishes in a small quantity, but maybe that could work.
Yeah, so
like reward yourself. Wow, I love that idea. I'm going to take that idea.
That is a nice way of looking at it, having something enticing and something rewarding if you achieve your goal. So
Rewarding yourself, so it's like a motivation factor that you. So similarly for other problems, like let's say we take messy room. How can you make sure your room is more clean and tidy? Some quick actionables or tools for that. Okay, I combine this task with something else. For example, shopping. Can you explain more, Maro? With the shopping thing.
Like if I want to walk for 1 day and I never come around to do it, I can combine it with shopping. Like I can go shopping to a supermarket, for example, that is away from my house, so that I make myself walk to there.
That is a great idea, because then you're saving on to like energy as well. Like you're not going through vehicles. So that's actually a great idea. So
but for the cleaning, for 40 years now, I haven't found the solution. I'm all ears.
Yeah, but I think that's a good idea. And David had also put something. Every time I walk or leave my room, I pick, okay, this is for the messy room. Okay.
for the messy
So I
room.
think one strategy that I've kind of used for cleaning, because I am also not the cleanest person in the world, is once a week I clean. I set out an hour a week. I put it in my schedule so that I can just tidy everything, and then I make an active effort to keep it that way throughout the week.
Viha, if you can read, David and Maro and all have put their for the messy room. If you can read it.
So this is nice. You can, every time you walk out, you think of, you do these 3 things: either pick something up, throw something out, or dust something. So that will eventually help you to get like a cleaner room. Then, for example, Sahana said, You can timetable cleaning your room once a week. Timetable cleaning your room once a week. Any other ideas anyone wants to share?
I think if you're looking at what David has written, I feel it's like sometimes we don't notice, but if he'll focuses more on noticing and then actioning it out, like any one task you're doing it. So I think every day when you notice, because half the time we don't notice things.
I think Roshni is doing something really nice. So you play music and give every day, like give 20 minutes every day to cleaning. So I'll tell you why I think it's a great idea, because why does our room get so messy? We don't clean it every day and eventually everything piles up, right? So if you clean it every day, just spend 20 minutes, 15 minutes, everything that you see out of place or you think you need to trash or throw it, if you just do it then and there before you sleep that night, you'll have a clean room. And the next day, whatever comes up again, you again trash it. So by the end, you will never have a messy room. So I think that's a great idea. So you can spend 20 minutes each day. Yeah, so these could be your doables. And then
so these are doable. So everybody can come up with their own ideas with their own problem, which they think suit them the most. For me, that can be something else. For Viha, it can be something else. So these are the ideas few of you mentioned for the problems you listed in field. So now moving on to share. One of the most neglected parts, because people think they'll just edit and do, but share is also a vital part of this process. So yes, we have.
So these were just your points, right? For do. Right now you can't actually do these, but you when you're solving a problem, you list these down, and then you actually start doing them. You actually start working on the do, which is working on your solutions, and then you can move on to share. So share is all about sharing your change story. So probably once you put in your do's into action, you would have changed from something like I was before. I always had a messy room and now I don't. So that would be my change story. How would I share that change story with others so that they get inspired by the same and they can maybe use the same process of FIDS or actually do it the way I did it so that they can solve the same issue for themselves. So the share is the ideas bit. So here, like, how would you want to share your stories? So for example, you now you have a cleaner room. How would you want to share it with others?
So an idea is you can share it on social media. You can post like stories when you clean your room.
Like fitness goals, you can always put like stories on social media saying that so that your friends and everyone is aware that you are now
yeah. So like
you can have that one.
Or you can actually start to change things. So like yesterday was 2nd October in India, it's like Gandhi Jayanti. So there was this hashtag that we wanted to like to go viral, which is hashtag be the change day. So everyone did some simple acts of kindness and everyone posted on their media and tagged it saying hashtag be the change day. And I think that is something that went viral over everyone's Instagram accounts. And it was a way that everyone shared their acts of kindness. So similarly, you can do something related to your fitness goals, or if you have a cleaner room now, you can maybe invite your friends over and show them that every time you've come in before, you've always seen a messy room, but now I have a cleaner room to show you, and then share your change story. So I think
Maro has written something in the chat, so you can post.
Yeah, she's written similar to what Viha just said right now.
David is raising his hand. Viha, would you like to?
Yeah, okay, David. Yeah. So Maro said I would invite my friends. Yeah, okay, that's great. Something I said. Yeah, David.
Can you explain a bit why sharing is important? Because as an example, I'm not sure I would want to share on social media that I had a messy room. And that I've then been successful in cleaning it up, because although it's maybe an important thing for me, other people might not think it's important, might not need to know. What if I don't want to share it?
Yeah, so you don't necessarily need to share something like this on your social media. It was just an example. So sharing is important so that you've had some change story. Now others, if you know your friend is facing a similar problem, they also have a messy room always. You will obviously be comfortable to talk to your friend and talk to them that how did you bring this change in you. Sometimes it is not always a problem at such a small scale. There are people or children who go through the same process to bring big changes, like solving equality or bringing a new idea in their school and stuff like that. So I think that is when it really becomes essential that everyone is aware about it and knows about the change you're making.
It is to inspire other people to do the same thing, because when you keep it yourself, right, then like if, for example, let's give my example. If I have a really messy room, right, and I see Viha who also has a messy room, and I see her on social media saying like she cleaned it using this and she did this and she did that, so I think that it also might motivate me to clean my room and keep it more tidy. So this is an example of one problem, but it's as we have mentioned, not always such a small scale. I was at a BTC conference where we had people people sharing about how they made technology on a bus to help people sanitize better so that they can keep their environment cleaner. So when you share about big things like this and somebody else sees them and they get inspired, then it would really have a big impact.
Examples we've also taken are very small, very related to who we are for easy. As Sahana said, sometimes we do this on bigger scales. So sharing people is telling that you've made a difference in the world. You're also in a way asking them to use that, what you've done in their surroundings. So you're impacting your change as well. And then sometimes it's just motivating others, as David has said in the chat box.
So this is how it is not of value until you actually share it with others. So I have my solutions. I've thought of something. I have the knowledge. It's good, great. I have it. But how is it of value until I share it with someone else? So I think that is the share bit, which is more important. I keep it to myself. I do well in it. That is great. But how can I elevate someone else? That's why here we connect elevate, and in the previous PPT, elevation is connected to share. So that is exactly how you elevate someone else, motivate them, inspire them, and together you can bring the change. So that is why share is a really important component. And that is basically the last step of this. So we talked about the 60-40 ratio, right? Which we said we'll elaborate a little more onto in the share component. So in our school, we've been talking about the problem of assessments, right? So we reimagined and co-created a 60-40 ratio, which is basically where 60 is my content bit, my mind bit, cognitive bit, where the exams I give or the checkpoints. We have these month and tests that we call checkpoints because it's like a pause time and you check how much you've understood. And where you stand. So the exams I give, the checkpoints or the worksheets I'm given or my classwork, all of that is a part of my content, which is that 60 bit. And so it's not my holistic assessment yet. The other 40 is my attendance in classes, my participation, the quality of my submission. So I might be submitting homework, but it is up to me if my homework is neat and easy for the teacher to understand, or do I do it half-heartedly and always give shoddy work. And then the it also includes involvement in processes. So we have community service processes, which we call persistence, and spark plugs, where students take up their talent and they conduct sessions where they share their talent with their classmates and peers. So how involved am I into those processes? So all of this is considered in the other 40. So now if I'm assessed by the end of every month, I'm assessed by both of these aspects, and it's not only my content. So that is the idea of the 60-40 ratio that we came up with. And yeah, that was our share bit, which we shared with you right now.
Viha, if we can ask participants for the feedback, they can put it up, and some questions if they have. I think Maro was wanted to say.
So if you have any questions related to any of these 4 steps and you want to share, please feel free to share.
Or anything regarding anything, not only about this, any questions, I think.
I have some questions if that's okay.
Yes, Mano.
Okay. All this time I can hear you, and I'm wondering, and I want you to be honest. When a child wants to come register to your school, is there some criteria? Like you say, we accept only the most cute, the most smart, the most competent, the most children, because I am amazed by what I saw. This is my first question. Is there some criteria for someone to come to your school?
Definitely.
Is it a wonder school or something?
We are a very diverse school, so definitely not. I think, and that is, I think, the culture of our school as well. So we look at how we can accept each other the way we are, build equality, and it's all about togetherness. So I think there is no such criteria as long as.
And we learn all of this in our school itself. I've been here for now 10 years, and they have been, through these years, I've been learning a new thing every single day. That's what Riverside has taught me personally, being confident.
So
we learn along with our teachers.
We are a school with people from all backgrounds, people with different talents, because imagine a world filled with only one type of people, with everybody just, all A-star students. That is something which is dreadful. I mean, that is so monotonous that there's no creativity in life. So that's why we come from such a school with a mixed bag, and then everybody's there and shares their talents, and that's how we shine.
How many children, how many students do you have? Students.
So, about 400. We don't have divisions for each class. So we have only 28 students in one class, and it's all about how we know each other, build a culture, stay together.
So I get 30 students in each class, as we have said. And we're like one big family. Our whole school is like one big family.
So you're separated in classes according to the subject, or according to age? How does it work?
According to age, obviously. So we have 3 key stages. The first key stage is from like pre-K, then there's kindergarten 1, kindergarten 2, first and second grade. Then key stage 2, which is 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th, 6th, and 7th. And key stage 3, which is 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th.
So like primary school, middle school, and high school, like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Viha, I think David is also raising his hand since a while.
David and Pooja both.
Yeah, David and Pooja. You can go one after the other.
Yes. David.
Okay, thank you very much for the workshop. It's very interesting. I think you presented it very well. I wanted to just make sure I had understood a few things. You said that you use this process for both the sports day and the assessment process, the number lines issue. And obviously, this is part of the sharing process, as you said, to present here today. I wanted to just check, when you did the sports day and the number lines process, was everybody involved, or was it sort of a small council of people, or was it just a few people who were involved? How did you actually do it?
Yes, Arjun.
Yeah, so that's a very good question, actually. So there are 3 main pillars in our school: the teachers, students, and as well as the parents. So we use all these 3 pillars, people from them. So we had groups of teachers, groups of parents, groups of students, coming from all students from all age groups, add their inputs, and then we formulated a new sports day, and considering keeping in mind all of their inputs as well. And similarly for the assessments, I mean, all the students' opinions, as well as teachers, as well as parents, and we came up with we formulated our final solution.
For the assessments, we did have like a team from one class, but they just formulated the how the new type of assessments would look. They came up with the idea, and then they shared it with the other classes, other teachers, and then everyone had their opinion. So when they are sharing, if someone else has another idea they'd like to add on to or something, they'd given their idea as well, and then the team would rework based on the feedback that has come in something. So there's only one team working towards it, but everyone's opinion is considered.
Okay, so it sounds like this process then is good for any size of group, from an individual all the way through to, say, a whole school, as you've managed to apply it.
Yeah, all these processes are co-created, as Arjun said, with not one person, but all the three pillars that we believe in: parents, students, and teachers. So yeah.
FIDS as a process is fit for like any age group, all students, because we believe in students as change makers. So they really have the ability to do that. So they themselves can use this process of feel, imagine, do, share, and any size of group, any age, any kind of people. I think this process works with all of those problems.
Yeah, another example of that would be every end of the year the teachers come and ask the students, what did you enjoy? What did you not enjoy? What is something you would like to rework on? So simple, way of including children as well in order to improve the next year. So this is something we look at.
I think Pooja has a question also.
Mad sad thing, but Pooja, you can share your question first, and then we.
Actually, I'm Pooja's mom, Praveena. Hi, I'm Praveena. Okay. Actually, Pooja and myself have been associated with Riversides in many ways since the last 8 to 10 years. And I would like to especially, praise this institute beyond a school. It reaches out to the community education, and that's why we were very participating in a very big manner. There's one project they have approach where the children from the less privileged background, also anyone can join. And every Sunday we would go to the parks and have activities with them, and they were treated on par with the regular students that we see here. And there was every summer, especially the helpers who work in the school, their children got the same education, and we used to come. They used to send us transport. We would come and volunteer and have a proper summer workshop and educate them also. So they're intergenerational minded in the school. There's no it's a very open-hearted institute, and I'm proud of being associated with them.
Thank you
so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Yeah. So Viha, I think we don't have much time, Maro. So can we have the feedback of everybody?
You all share in feedback if we're done with the questions.
Where should they put the feedback?
You can put it on chat and unmute and share it as well, because we're anyways recording it. So, and Maro, you're on mute. You need to.
I know, I'm not talking to you. Thank you.
Yeah, so any feedback by whoever attended the workshop?
I think they're writing it. If give her a minute or something. So Viha, would you like to read out aloud some of the?
Yeah, so Maro says, I had a great time. Roshni says, thanks for sharing FIDS with us, planning to use it, to test it with fitness goals for a start. And David says, thank you, everyone. I enjoy the collaborative presentation style of the group. I personally prefer a non-participative style, but this worked okay for me today. Thank you for the feedback. We had a great time. Thank you for coming here.
I hope all of you use the process of FIDS in your daily life to solve any problems you are facing, and do share it with us.
Yeah. I hope you take back this process and try implementing it wherever you think you need to solve a problem, and share it with others if they are facing problems.
Yay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. It was a great opportunity.
Acha, thank
Yeah.
you.